Hello, hello. We're live again. It seems like this is going on all day, going live, going live, going live. I'm so happy to be back here with you. This is Dela on another episode of Dela's Voice, and I am super ecstatic to introduce to you my next guests. They're the power couple. I swear to you, you're going to learn so much from these two. They have just such a joy and love for life. And together, they impact the world in so many ways. My guests today are Ruth and Robert Verbree. And they are both best-selling authors. They are both motivational speakers. They have programs that make people change their perspective. They help people live better lives. They're coaching people every day. They're impacting the world in a positive way. They are both superheroes with superpowers, and I'm so glad that they've accepted my invitation to be on Dela's Voice. So please help me welcome Ruth and Robert, the Verbree power couple. Hi, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here today, guys. So happy.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Okay, first of all, thank you for accepting to be here, because I know you're doing so much already, and I mean, it's so much fun to see your beautiful faces, especially Ruth's beautiful face. Robert, you don't mind because she's got a nice
it's all for me. It's done.
That's why you married her, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
38 years.
How many years?
38.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. God bless you both.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yes.
It's amazing. It's amazing. So, guys, thanks for being here. I want to just take a few seconds and let you introduce yourselves. You're both best-selling authors. Ruth, we'll start with you and your beautiful book, and then we'll go to Robert. Please.
Thank you, Dela. Thank you for having us. I'm humbled and honored and privileged to be on Dela's Voice. And I love what your sign behind you says, families are forever.
Absolutely.
We totally, that's us. And we have a family business. We're doing this together and with our children. So thank you. We're in alignment. So yes, my journey started, well, I've been into health and wellness and fitness for many, many years. And I grew up in a home that was an entrepreneur home, but I married a cop. So my husband was in law enforcement for 35 years, and he joined because he loved his country and he wanted to serve as a peace officer, because in Canada, that's what they're called, peace officers.
Yeah.
And so I, way back then, 38 years ago, I decided that I would follow my husband in his career. But that didn't mean that I still didn't want to do what I was born to do. And so throughout the years, we were really fortunate to take some of what I wanted to do and have some brick and mortar businesses.
Yeah.
And I did have that. And then we were so looking forward to retirement. And this brought us into a whole nother journey, which is a journey of post-traumatic stress disorder. My husband fell victim to post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, and he almost committed suicide after retirement. And this was a journey that was a very dark time in our lives. But in that journey, I knew that we were being called to help people and to help them with their health and wellness. And I kind of just still fit in with what I was loving earlier, because I used to own a gym for women. And so through that dark journey, we just felt this calling that we were going to help people with their wellness. And through that journey, I became an award-winning author. So I had to give you a little bit of backstory, because it was through that journey, I always knew I wanted to write a book. And I wanted to write a book about my life with a cop. So I did. And it's called My Life with a Cop, How to Survive the Ride. And I call it How to Survive the Ride because life is a ride.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote life is a journey, it's a ride. And you and I both have our ups and downs. It's not just Robert and I who have our ups and downs. Everyone does. Everyone has their own experiences. And I wanted to write about mine. And so I did. And we tell our stories, police stories, and they're two perspectives of the same journey, because my husband wrote a book too. So I'll let you talk about your book a little bit.
Okay, so I'm Robert, and of course I'm the other piece of the story. And yes, I joined the RCMP in 1975 or 1979. The RCMP is Canada's national police force, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. And that had been my passion to do that. In fact, I looked at my yearbook a few days ago from when I graduated in school in 1973, and that passion already appears there. And I was born to be a police officer or peace officer. I loved my job. I loved serving people. I loved serving my country. But, you know, after seeing all those things, some things that nobody should ever see over 35 years, at the end of all of that, I was struggling with PTSD. And I'm still struggling with it, to be honest with you, because, you know, I'm up and down and round and whatever it is. But I'm doing well. You know, I've learned some techniques that are helping me. But from my journey, I wrote a book called My Life as a Cop. And so in here, there is some really great police stories, gives you a feel for the day-to-day grind of being in the police world. But also it talks about my journey and with PTSD and the effects that had on me, but also on my wife and my family.
Yeah, we're very vulnerable in our stories about post-traumatic stress, because we want people to know they're not alone in this journey. And we're trying to break the stigma that still surrounds mental health issues. And that's where you and I really, really, well, the three of us really align.
Right. And so one of the things that Ruth really alluded to before, and so did you, Dela, and Jim Rohn, one of my famous, let me say that again. One of my favorite motivational speakers. That's what I wanted to say.
Oh, no, we're going the wrong direction there, Robert.
Yeah. But he always would say the same wind blows on us all, which is absolutely true, right? The wind of prosperity, the wind of difficulty, whatever it is, it's all a matter of how you approach it. And so we saw our big barrier, the PTSD and mental illness and all that kind of thing. It was a barrier, but we also saw that as our greatest success too.
Because we knew that if we could take something that was really difficult and turn it into helping others, then that's a huge success.
Absolutely. And the stigma that surrounds mental, you know, unwellness, because we love to use the term mental wellness, but certainly there's the other part, the counterpart to that. It's such a...
Well, we like to actually use the term mental fitness.
Fitness, yeah, absolutely.
We'll get back to that in a moment.
There's such a negative stigma in that world. So I'm going to use an example right now. Like if I have my arm in a sling, you see that right away, and you would say, well, Robert, you broke your arm. Now tell me about that, right? It's a physical problem, and you can see it. But inside, you don't see anything. And so you never ask me, but it's always negative to talk about it, it seems like. And the two things that are it's such a paradox is when you're mentally unfit or mentally unwell, you don't feel like talking, but that's the thing that you need to do the most. You need to share that with other people
and get support.
And get support.
That's so true. So sometimes we'll see someone walking on the street, and the person is talking to themselves. And you know, in the past, it never dawned on me to stop and ask myself, what is going on behind this?
Right.
What I'm seeing right now. It was until after my own experience with my loved one going through a severe mental health problem that I started appreciating what is really happening. That it's more than just what you see on the surface. It's more than a bad behavior. It's more than an angry shout. It's more than that. So I totally appreciate this. And so when a person is dealing with a mental health issue, it's not just that person on their own, it's their entire family.
Yes.
Right? So,
Absolutely.
so as a family, you had to cope with this.
Yes, and it was a very difficult coping that we dealt with, because we had no training whatsoever, even with Robert being in a government job in the RCMP, where you think that there would be this training. There was none. In fact, his first debriefing was only after 33 and a half years of being in service. And that's just plain awful. Like, they need to have a debriefing after every traumatic event.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's changing now, because they're realizing that there needs to be help for
Yes.
when you see trauma, when you're dealing with trauma. And it's the same for caregivers. Like, I had no clue what was happening. All I knew is that he began to kind of withdraw, and we weren't able to have good discussions anymore. You know, I would try to, we're very goal oriented, and then we always have been, because we've been in business as well as him having his job. But we would write goals and our dreams, and we would have, okay, this is what we're going to get done today, and let's write. And then in the evening we'd say, what are we going to do tomorrow? What's our goals? You know, and we would review them in the evening. And you know, he couldn't have those conversations anymore, and he would just get irritable, and he was like, don't talk to me about that. I don't want to know about that. I can't deal with that. And he was just getting, honestly, hard to live with. That's the truth of the matter. And I didn't know what was wrong, because we always had done this. So I knew our relationship was declining, and the divorce rate in first responders, I know the divorce rate is huge today, but in first responders, it's even higher.
In that world, it's awful. It's just it's a statistic we don't even want to talk about. And, you know, it's something that where those people need help. They need to be able to talk about the things that are happening in their lives and learn the skills that Ruth was just talking about.
Right. And so, you know, I knew our relationship was declining, and I didn't know what to do about it, because I didn't know what he had. I didn't know what he was suffering from. So you're kind of left floundering, like, are we just going to be another statistic? And we didn't want it.
So Ruth, what's going on in through your mind at this time? Like, okay, so you didn't understand there's anything called PTSD. That's not really something that you're thinking about. So what are you thinking? Like, what is going on with Robert?
I just knew he wasn't himself anymore. And so I began to do a bit of research, and I was thinking, well, it doesn't look like our marriage is going to survive either, because I live like this. But I also knew that we had gotten married and we were committed to working things out. Like, we wanted to stay together. So fortunately, I found out when one day, he had already been researching, and he was thinking about committing suicide, and it was terrible. And I went, okay, he's got PTSD. And luckily for me, I had a friend who had worked for a psychologist. So I called up my friend and I said, what's the name of that psychologist? Does he still work? I just need to phone him. I need to get a hold of somebody right now.
Yes.
Because this is crucial. And so luckily for me, I had that connection. And I called him, and he answered me, and he said, I'll see him tomorrow morning first thing. Because this was in the evening. And fortunately, he saw him. And from there, we started a journey upwards. And it was a long journey up, I have to say, but it was up.
We're still climbing the hill.
Yeah. Because, you know, it doesn't completely ever go away. You just learn how to cope with the triggers and the flashbacks, and you learn how to deal with what you have. And you know that you have to speak about it. You know that, you know, like, we're still learning how to work together, because it is something that comes up.
But, and for me, I couldn't understand how I could go from totally functional every day, managing multiple things and looking after my family and making sure they were all well, to absolutely zero, not able to function.
He couldn't do the daily activities
of living. It was crazy.
He was literally in bed, in fetal position for months. Like,
my mind was a mess.
yeah. So how can you go from being optimally well to total dysfunction? It's at
crazy.
the end of the spectrum. So it was life altering.
So I'm thinking, so you're going through all of this. It's easier for you, Ruth, as the person outside the situation, to have more of an insight, because you're looking at these big changes that are happening all of a sudden. Did Robert have insight as well? Like, Robert, did you feel like there was something going on, or no, you were totally in denial?
Well, leading up to it, I knew something was wrong, but I was thinking initially when I retired that maybe I was just burned out after 35 years and, beginning to decompress from all that time and all those events. But I was also noticing things that were really bothering me too. Like, I'd hear the siren going up the highway when we lived close to the highway at that time. It would be a trigger for me. I would always be thinking in my mind, well, what am I going to be facing in 5 minutes? But to carry that forward now, maybe 3 or 4 years, Ruth and I were out walking some time ago near the freeway. And as we were walking, everything was going good. It was sunny outside and so on. And here comes 4 rescue trucks and 4 ambulances and 4 police cars roaring up the highway. And right away, that was a trigger for me. And I'm thinking, oh, wow, what am I going to face here in 5 minutes? Mm-hmm. But now I do know enough that I can talk myself back into the present moment, use some breathing techniques and some pattern interrupts and so on, which help me. So, yeah, it's to get back to your question, because I got a little bit sidetracked there, I guess. Tell you that there was something wrong initially, but I didn't really know what it was. And I just kept plummeting downward. And the next thing was complete dysfunction.
And from a person who was like, he's a type A personality, he's in management, he's a leader, he's outspoken, he's a type A personality, he's out in the world, he's in the media, he's doing all of this stuff, to go from that to feeling he can't do anything right. He doesn't feel worthy. He feels that he's let me down. He feels that he can't look after me. He feels he's not my protector anymore. He's not my provider anymore. He just wanted to end his life because he couldn't do anything.
I couldn't stand it. And those anxious thoughts, I haven't had a lot of that lately, but maybe a week ago I had a day of just total anxiety. I can't explain to you why. It just came over me. And for that whole day, my day was just a total chaotic mess.
Mm-hmm. So that's why I say it's ongoing.
Yes.
And he mostly is doing very well.
Mm-hmm.
But it depends on also, like, here's the thing. It depends on what kind of a night he has. Sleep is crucial to being well. And if you don't get a good night's rest, all the money in the world doesn't
make
help.
any difference.
You have to feel well in order to function in your day-to-day living and to enjoy life.
You know what? I gotta congratulate you both, because you've taken something that could disable an entire family, and like you gave us statistics, yes, they do all the time. You took it and you turned it around, and you built this amazing life based on helping people using your own life experience. And that's admirable. So we'll get to that, because you have a fantastic program that you've started just based on your own life experience. And so why don't you talk about that, please?
Sure.
Well, I'll just start by saying that we knew that barrier, both of us knew that would be something that we needed to get over or under or around and come out on the other side with the desire to help other people who are facing the same things that we faced. And so no one has to carry on in that process. Like, a lot of PTSD and a lot of mental illness, not all of it, because it wouldn't be fair to say that. And I also want to say I'm not a medical doctor, but basically there's 2 kinds of mental illness. learned responses and those when you have an actual physical problem in your head, right? But a high percentage of mental illness is learned response, which was the case in my case. And so you can unlearn things and learn new processes.
You can rewire your brain.
You can rewire your brain.
Or renew your mind.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's been our drive to do that, to help others. And I guess it really comes down to the point in time where you have to make a decision if you want to make a change. Because here's a little picture for you. If you just make a 1/4 of a degree change today, in a month, that's a difference. But in a year, that's huge. And you can live a really great life, even with PTSD, but you need to make the change and make the decision. Sometimes that involves talking to others who can help you see outside the forest, outside the trees, into the clear area.
So what we did, Dela, is Robert was seeing the psychologist every week for a while, and then it went to every 2 weeks, and then it went to a month, every month, and he still has a psychologist. Now, there are times when he really needs to go and see the psychologist, whereas other times he can go for maybe a couple months without seeing the psychologist. But it's okay to say that you need help, because it's just like he said earlier, if you have an outward injury, you're not afraid to ask for help.
Right.
When you have an internal injury, it's that stigma that, oh, I can't tell anyone. And so what we wanted to do is we wanted to create a program which is for you if you're struggling with an issue, if you want to learn about how to help someone that you love who is struggling with an issue. So we partnered with our psychologist, and we are blessed because our psychologist has 40 years of wisdom, and we actually paid him to write our program for us so that it's very credible. It's in terms that you and I can both understand, because we all need help. We all know someone who struggles. And so we use the term mental fitness. And just like with physical exercise, you can get physically fit through a program.
Yes.
It's the same being mentally fit. You can get mentally fit through a program. There are strategies and there are tips and things that you can do to build your fitness in your mental health.
Right.
And so mental fitness actually means having a positive sense of how you think, how you feel, and how you act, which improves your ability to enjoy life. And you and I both want to enjoy life. That's the
ultimate goal.
That's right.
We want to enjoy life.
Yeah.
So one day my psychologist said to me, Bob, it's not your fault. And that was a life-changing moment for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to say to the listeners out there, it's not your fault. Really, it isn't. But now it's time to make a decision that you want to move on with your life. Because if you want to choose the path of just taking medication and thinking about, oh, poor me, well, that's one route you can take. But you can also take the other route too, where you decide you're going to make some changes and learn some new skills and live a happy, healthy, productive life. It is possible to do that. So that was really what our drive is, to help people to get to that point where they can see, yes, we can make that change and we can make that difference and we can move forward.
And our program also works for people in conjunction with their psychologist. If they want to take some of the lessons, go and take them to their psychologist or their health practitioner and work through some of these issues, because it just helps to give them a whole picture of understanding what mental health means.
Yes.
It wasn't that long ago that we did a survey, and out of 35 people, every one of those people thought that mental health meant that you were crazy. That stigma was still there. And mental health means you're working on your health, just like physical health.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
One of the great things about our program, it's, lots of people do not have access to go and have help, professional help, the psychologist help.
Right.
And
because it's pricey.
It's pricey.
Yeah.
The average visit to a psychologist in Canada today now is about $275 per hour. A lot of people just do not have that kind of money laying around. So this course that we have is 18 modules, but it's like 18 psychologist visits, because it was written by a psychologist who dealt with first responders for 40 years, and he put it into a format that everybody can understand it, and then we put it in a digital format. So it's like going to see the psychologist 18 times.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot more value in it than that. There's other strategic things that we put in there, some exercises to teach you how to breathe, how to think better. I can't give it all away. You got to go there yourself. But really, we're going to talk about what that costs later on in the program here. But really, if you want to invest in your wellness, and for people who don't have access to a psychologist, who live in a remote location, this is excellent material for them.
Mm-hmm. So this is the stuff that you do on a daily basis yourself that helps you cope with those, when you're having bad days, and also has helped Ruth as a caregiver. The two of you together have benefited from these methods, and that's what you're offering everybody else as well.
Yes,
right.
Absolutely. We have a lot of techniques, strategies, and coping skills to help you in your day-to-day living.
Yeah.
We can just talk about one, and Dela, you use this as well. It's called the pattern interrupt. This is one that, like you just explained before, but you didn't explain what you do when you hear the sirens. So let's talk about the pattern interrupt.
Well, and for me, we'll use that example where we were out walking and the sirens there just make or trigger me. What am I going to face in 5 minutes? And then right away, I know enough now. I just say change. I make that pattern interrupt. That's my personal word, change. And you can use either word or any word that you want. But that just kind of knocks me back into reality. And then I can think to myself, oh, yeah, right. I'm here right now. And right now I'm out for a walk with Ruth. And it's got nothing to do with going to that accident or that incident. We're out here enjoying the sun, enjoying each other's company, enjoying getting exercise. And just that very simple technique to learn makes all the difference in the world.
It does. And you can use any word. Like
yes.
I use the word shift. And I have to do a 180. Because if something is coming at me, or if Robert's having a bad day, I have to do this too. Because it's about the family. It involves all of us. And, we have, our kids are involved in our business as well. So it involves all 5 of us. Sometimes, it's difficult to work through those things that come up. Like stress happens, right?
That's right.
And so it's doing that 180 shift. And I use the word shift, and it just brings you back into the present moment.
It's so helpful, this idea of pattern interrupt, because it could work with any sort of negative thinking patterns too. So let's say you get into that whirlwind of, I can't do this, and this is too hard, this is too difficult, this is never going to happen. That's when you realize, and you're like, no, cancel.
Yeah, no, that's so true. And did you know that of the 80,000 thoughts that we have in one day, that's the average. Some is a little bit less, some is a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
But 80% of those thoughts are negative. Now think about that. That's a lot.
That's a lot of negativity.
Oh, it is. So using the pattern interrupt, even if you change 10%, that's a better day.
Yeah. And it takes, if it's 80%, it takes 8 positive thoughts to counteract the one, or 8 positive thoughts to counteract the 1 negative. So you need a lot of positivity in your life.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. And it's not easy with everything that's going on around us. You gotta really, really you have to take initiative, and you gotta really work hard, right?
Yes, you do. And PTSD, I just want to say this. PTSD affects way more than just first responders.
Yes, it does.
In fact, the number 1 population is women who suffer from post-traumatic stress. And so we had first decided when we built this program, we decided we were going to do it with for first responders. And our psychologist said, you don't want to exclude women. Triggers and the symptoms of post-traumatic stress are the same, whether you have it from sexual abuse or abandonment or you've seen a tragic accident,
Yeah,
it's the same symptoms
it is,
as
right.
for like a first responder. So he said women are actually the #1 population with post-traumatic stress because of sexual abuse. So if you're a woman out there listening to this, this is for you. If you've seen something that was traumatic, this is for you. If you grew up in an abusive home as a child, this is for you. Like, the information in this program is life-changing.
It would be. It's like what you said. It's for your mental fitness. It's to develop those muscles.
Yes.
Right. That we need those muscles every single day. Like you said, we have so many negative thoughts through the day, and I heard that a lot of those negative thoughts are the same thoughts, the same thought pattern that happens every single day.
Yes.
Right.
And they just get repeated in your mind over and over and over.
Yeah.
And it's time to change them up. And
I want to ask you, Ruth, what is the danger of not doing anything about this?
the danger of not doing anything to help yourself, well, your life just keeps spiraling downwards. Because when this happened to us, my life, even as the caregiver, I could feel myself going down. I could feel myself living in this. I like to describe it like this. You know, when you're in a vehicle, Dela, and you're driving behind a big semi truck and they switch gears and you see this big puff of black smoke come out the stack?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I felt like I was living in that puff of black smoke, and it was dreadful. So when I would go out to have a little break from the negativity, I would come back in and I could just feel the darkness and the cloud. And so I had to help myself. Like, I had to start doing things for me, because I use this analogy a lot too. It's like, we're not flying very much these days, but when you're on an airplane, the flight attendant always says you need to put on your own oxygen mask before you can help the person beside you.
That's the truth.
And I had to start looking after myself.
Yeah.
So if I hadn't done this, we still wouldn't be together.
Yeah.
And it would have split up not only us, it would have hurt our family, and it just goes on and on.
On
And
and
Robert
on.
would be another statistic. He would.
Oh yeah. I mean, I can't imagine what would happen to Robert for not having that support, right? That understanding, that compassion. That I gotta tell you this, because as you're speaking about this, I remember when I was at my worst as a caregiver and not understanding what was happening, not having enough insight, but also not really realizing that the change had to start with me first. Because as a caregiver, what I felt, what I thought was very, very important, not only just to me, to keep my own my own sanity, but also to the people I loved. And so you, by taking care of yourself, as a caregiver to Robert, you're helping yourself, you're helping Robert, but you're also helping your entire family.
Absolutely.
Right?
I can tell you what I did, Dela. People thought I was absolutely crazy, and you might think I was crazy too, but because you understand, you're going to know why I did this. We were retired, but what I did is I went and applied at a fast food place and worked outside the home a couple days a week.
Yes.
I worked with teenagers so I could laugh.
Yes.
Had fun with teenagers, and they didn't know my story at home. And I set my story. When I went out the door in the morning, my story stayed at home. When I walked into the place where I was working, I was a happy, bubbly self. I had fun with them, so I was laughing. And I needed that laughing medicine, the outside world, so I could go into that puff of black smoke rejuvenated.
Sure.
Yeah. And so I did that for months.
That was part of your tools, right, for self-care. Oh, wow. It's so it's such a tough journey, and I can resonate because I've been through it myself, and I know that we've talked about this before, and we're going to talk about it more. Why do you need this out so bad, Ruth? What does it mean to you to talk about this? Why is it so important to both of you?
Well, we want to break the stigma that still surrounds mental illness, mental health, because when you are going downhill and you feel like you can't cope and things are getting too overwhelming, it's okay to say you need help.
Yes, it is.
It's okay to say, I need support. I need a helping hand. And we want to help you if this is you. We want you to know that it's not your fault that you're feeling this way. It's just a desire in your heart that you don't want people to suffer like you've suffered. And Dela, you know about that too, because you want people to have the help and the resources that they need.
Yeah.
We spent thousands and thousands of dollars, like with all the research, the psychology, the therapy, the tens of thousands of dollars that we spent. You know, we did it, but it wasn't easy. And we don't want you to struggle like we did. Because there is help available online now.
And I think, you know, one of the things that really resonates for me is you have to decide. And so you have to invest in yourself. And people who think that the government is going to fix it, or your family's going to fix it, or whoever it is going to fix it, that's bad thinking. You have to invest in you, right? That's a principle that's pretty solid. And I'm reminded as I go through my journey of a lot of men, and I'm going to talk about Canadian men because I'm Canadian and I love Canada, right? But lots of men who went to war and they were totally, totally normal when they left. When they came home, so many of them couldn't hold a job. They couldn't manage their families. Well, they all had PTSD, and there was no help for them. But now that's not the case today. Today, there is help if you want to get it, but I still say you have to invest in you.
You have to decide you want help.
There's so many free resources out there, and no one takes advantage of it.
But also, Dela, as you know, if you're struggling so hard, it has to be a caregiver or a friend or some support that gets them the help. Because when they're too far gone, they can't do it for themselves.
That's absolutely correct.
And that's
so true. Yes, for sure. So from my own experience, when my loved one was going through his worst time, and I didn't understand anything, I was totally oblivious to what was happening. I was absolutely no help. I was useless. I was even making his situation worse.
Yeah.
But the moment I decided to step out of my own ignorance and start looking for answers and help, and I started talking about it, and it's amazing when you start talking about it, every other person knows someone who's struggling.
That's right.
Yeah.
But it's like, shh, don't talk about it, right? Like it's such a big deal. And then the more you talk about it, the more you realize, oh my gosh, so many people are suffering. What are the statistics in Canada? 1 out of every 4 people is dealing with a sort of a mental health problem. And I bet you anything that number is higher because a lot of people don't even say it.
Well, especially right now, Dela, I was going to say it is 25% of people struggle every given year. But right now in this pandemic, over 40% more now are struggling with depression because of the pandemic, the COVID-19, and being isolated. Yeah. So it's even so much more important now to get this information out, to help you before you go down any further. Before we don't want you spiraling down.
Yeah.
So your first step is to make a decision. You got to have some skin in the game. That's what entrepreneurs say. And if you don't want to make a change, and if you don't want to invest in you, you're not going to go anywhere. But that's so true of many things, or almost everything in our lives. You want to grow up, you have to make that decision.
Make a decision, and make a decision, first of all, that you know there's something wrong, there's something not working. Second of all, make a decision to ask for help and actually follow up. There were 3, so I attended some meetings, and I mean, Al-Anon is such a great program, and it's one of those treasures out there that's not even, I mean, it doesn't cost any money. I'm just so surprised that more people don't use it.
Yeah.
But they were talking about the 3 A's, and so one was acceptance. And all of a sudden I've forgotten. Acceptance.
Accountability.
Pardon?
Accountability.
no, it was accept is, oh my gosh, it'll come to me. And then, but the last A is action, but you got to take an action. Like Robert said, you got to take action. It's not going to happen on its own. So this is where you come in with this program of yours, which is fantastic. I mean, so I want to talk about it, if you don't mind. I'm psyched. So let's tell everybody all about this program, okay, and how they can reach it. I'm going to put the banner on so they can see. Go ahead and talk about it, please.
Okay, well, our program is all online. You can do it in the comfort of your own home. If you are too afraid to talk about how you're feeling right now, you can get this program, read about it, and see if this fits you.
Yes.
And then you'll know a little bit more about why you're feeling like you're feeling.
Yeah.
Because this program goes through what mental health should look like to you. Are you healthy? Are you going down the scale? Because at one end of the spectrum is optimal mental wellness, and at the opposite end is complete dysfunction. Everyone's on this line somewhere.
Yeah.
And when signs and symptoms of stress affect your life, then it causes you to move down the line a ways. But you need to have the tools to be able to be resilient and bounce back up before you get too far down. So we're so excited to share our program. It's called The Renewed Mind. And you can go there where Dela's posted the link there, renewedmindonline.com/buy now. And you will see people who have taken our program. There's testimonials there. And we want to give you a fabulous offer because we want to break the stigma, and we want you to have the help that you need. So,
well, I just want to reiterate again that if you don't have some skin in the game, you won't do it. And like, we've given this program away, and no one has even responded. Nothing happens. They don't do it. If you don't invest in you, it's not going to work out. Yeah. So we really want people to have this information because it's just life-changing. It's life-altering information. And it'll start you on your road to recovery. I don't know if it's the total gem that gives you everything. That's not fair to say that, but it's a definite start.
So we have 18 modules, like Robert said. And if you just take a quick example of $300 psychology visit times 18, that's worth $5,400. But we have so much more included in this program. And we are going to give you a code right now. We normally sell this for $497. But if you're listening to this right now, we want to give you this code. And it's FF100. And that's going to give you this program for $100 US. And that is the lowest we can go, because our psychologist has to get paid as well. And so that's the deal of a lifetime. It's an incredible gift to you. Our psychologist is an awesome man, and what you're going to see in this program is going to change your life. I can guarantee you that.
Absolutely.
Amazing. I'm going to put actually that code right underneath, if you don't mind, so people can see, so they don't forget. I'm going to do that right now, and as you're talking, I can add FF100.
And then when you enter that code, because there's a place for a code there, you have to hit the word apply.
Yes.
And then it comes up.
So code FF100. Is that good?
Perfect.
Okay. Excellent. Okay. So tell me a little bit about the different modules. You said there are 18 modules.
Yes, there are.
And so what do they entail? So there's some information, and then there's a practical side to them, or what are some of the different modules that you can share with us without going into too much detail?
Well, the first 6 modules pretty much explain what you're going through. They explain what mental health actually looks like.
Because that's so important, right? To understand it. Like, what are the different, why do we go through what we go through? What are what are we looking for?
You're going to see a module called The Tipping Point. You're going to see one called Stress and Anxiety. You're going to see one on depression. And the tipping point is is such a great module, because you're going to see that. I'm going to give you a little analogy here. You know, you might think when you look at somebody who's very neat and organized that, wow, I want to be like that person. But there is a tipping point when you're too neat and too organized,
Yes.
and it tips you over the edge to mental health issues.
Perfectionism, right?
Right. Yeah.
Or OCD, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's all about that. So the first 6 modules are about really understanding what mental health is. And there's introspection questions. So you can dig in the dirt, you can dig internally and find out what it is that was going on in your life right now. So there's awesome questions from the psychologist as well. Then there's
sorry, Ruth, is that like an assessment that you're doing?
It's not really an assessment, but yes, you could call it that, because you're working on your inner self.
It's almost like journaling.
I love it when you have those questions and like they're specific, so it's easy to answer. And then it says, okay, so if you've scored between this and this is where you are on this chart, or like something like that, to just give me a proper, okay, this is where I am.
Yes, and there's also the mental health continuum chart there, where you actually circle where you are. There's 4 columns, and you're going to circle where you are. So you're going to see that, oh, I'm maybe not doing so good right here.
Yes.
Oh, I maybe could bounce up and be resilient here.
Mm-hmm.
So it is really, really good. And then the next 6 modules are about giving you tips, coping skills, strategies to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like we talked about.
The pattern interrupt, breathing techniques. And it talks in there too about your health and proper eating, drinking enough water. And
NLP.
NLP. And then the last 6 modules is about self-improvement.
And finding your purpose
again. So that's a really big piece of that, once you've been through those other 2 phases, to begin to move forward. So for me, I'll just use an example. When I was really ill, I'm an avid motorcyclist. And when I was ill, I could not even sit on my motorcycle. I just had such anxiety and thinking in my head, I couldn't do it. Something that I love, that I'm passionate about. But using those tips and strategies, I could now again get on my motorbike, and I took some baby steps, but now I'm out there and I'm riding again. So it's possible to do it. It's possible to rewire all that mess in there and get it back on track.
Another thing you talk about is finding your purpose again, because you have to have a reason to get out of bed in the morning.
Yes, you do.
And that's what the last 6 modules are about. And we did that together. And actually, my daughter and I bought another business while he was recovering, and we bought a little coffee shop and bistro. And people again thought, what am I doing? Why would I do that when I have a sick husband? And I had to take care of me. And I also knew that having this business and having Robert come and help, even if he could wash dishes in the back, it gave him a purpose. And it was truly what I had envisioned. It helped him get better. It helped him to find a purpose. And then being able to share this and share his journey and to write his book gave him purpose.
Just imagine going from a cop to a dishwasher, huh? But
Can I tell you something?
It was fabulous, because it did give me back my confidence.
Yeah.
And then I was able to even go into the restaurant when people would come in and I could talk to them again. That really was a decision that Ruth made, but that was had such an effect on my getting better.
So I want to encourage people here, like, you're going to have the naysayers. I had so many naysayers saying, they literally told me that was a stupid thing to do. Why would you do that when you have a sick husband? And I just would tell people, I know it's going to help him get better. Like, if you know in your gut that something is right, you have that 6th sense, you just know that you need to do it.
You got to do it.
And you have to follow your heart, right?
I love you guys. You guys bring so much hope. It's amazing. I'm like sitting here just filled with emotions, because I want that day when my loved one is sitting across from me and we can have this conversation.
It'll
Yes.
happen. Just
Yeah.
keep on the road, keep on the journey.
So Dela, we've been talking and talking. I want to know, and your listeners want to know, like, what have you done for yourself? Because you agree with taking care of yourself.
Yes.
Yeah. What have you done?
So at the worst time of my life, when I was going through crisis, was because my brother was having such a hard time with his illness. And I found myself in that situation when I was out of breath. I was in total panic.
Mhm.
The phone rang. It was because a bad news was coming. As if I saw, I'll give you a little story. I was going actually somewhere, and I saw a bike. It was nighttime. I saw a bike down on the ground in one of the side streets, and an ambulance. And automatically, I thought, that's my brother. That's what I thought.
Yep.
So I was like this short of parking my car, getting out of my car and going to the scene because I was sure that was my brother. But I had to talk myself down, like realistically speaking, you have no facts, just keep going. And we do this. We do this because we're not in the right mindset. So that's the stuff I was dealing with, right? Pacing and anxious and heartbeat racing. So there was a point where I remember that day exactly. I couldn't breathe.
Yes.
I was so sure that I was going to end up at the hospital. So I picked up the phone and I called a crisis hotline. And that woman saved my life that day.
Wow.
Because she said to me, it's not your fault.
Yeah.
Exactly. Isn't that huge?
It's huge.
Oh, absolutely.
You just get shivers.
Yeah. So that one sentence changed my life.
Yes.
And so I totally appreciate you guys so much. The work you have put in to create this program, and the time and the financial investment you have put into this to help this world become a better place. I want to thank you. But I want to also read a note from Robert J. Moore here, because he is saying the Verbrees are amazing people. I personally have endorsed their program. I encourage you to work with them. So that's a great endorsement from a great guy. Dr. PPP is saying hello as well.
Robert too.
Yes.
Thank you, Robert.
And Robert actually, yes, he endorsed our program, and we're very thankful for that, because he's a therapist.
Yes.
So he's had a good look at it, and so that's a real blessing.
Absolutely.
Amazing. So once again, the www.renewedmindonline.com/buy now, and you're giving it to people practically for free. So I think it's just to cover the costs.
Yes.
Right. Thank you.
Well, if we can help people, they can reach out to us. I have a Facebook profile, and Ruth does as well. If you need help or you need some more talking, please do that, because our mission, our goal is to help those people who are struggling with mental illness. I will tell you from my perspective, I'm going to talk to you about taking action, because I know how huge that actually is.
Yes, it really is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So before we go, because our time is up, holy moly, it just flies. It's so much fun talking to you guys. You have a podcast on that you have on YouTube, and you talk to unbelievable people. The two of you together, you're so much fun to watch as you interact together and with others. And it's called Brewed Awakening. And I just want to make sure that people know that's where they can also watch the two of you. So what a fun name that is. I know we've spoken about this before on the Magnetic Entrepreneur podcast, but why don't you go ahead and tell this audience too how you came up with that name, Brewed Awakening, which is really, really fun.
I'll start by saying, and Ruth will explain it all to you, but the two coffee cups that you can see them in the back there, and we have them here. We're coffee snobs, maybe. That maybe is a little too harsh. I don't know, but we love coffee a lot. And so years ago, we were on vacation and we saw a little coffee shop in a community, and the name of the coffee shop was the Brewed Awakening, and it just really resonated with Ruth and I. In fact, we went in and got a coffee in that coffee shop. And that's just kind of hung on with us. But, you know, we're brewing and we're stirring it up, and we want to keep it rolling. And our podcast really right now is about health and wellness. But we're trying to talk to people who are in their 50s and 60s, people with an entrepreneurial spirit.
Yes. And so, yeah, we were in that coffee shop. It was in Eastern Canada, actually in Newfoundland.
Yes.
I never forgot that name. I just love the name, the Brewed Awakening, because it's exactly what we're doing. We're mixing and stirring things up, and we like to gather information, and we like to meet people like you and,
yes,
and give back, because that's what you and I are both doing. Like we love to help people. We love to stir and mix things up, and it's a transformation. And that's what the Brewed Awakening is. It's renewing your mind, body, and soul together.
Thank you. Thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. I know that you have other programs out there, Ruth. That's your baby on your own. I want to give you a chance to talk about that also, so that we don't miss anything. Okay.
Thanks, Dela. Well, I also because I'm into health and wellness, and you know, I've been passionate about physical fitness and mental fitness, but I've been passionate about all of that since I was pretty young. And I used to own a Curves gym for women, and I absolutely loved it. It was one of my favorite times in my life. And I got to help hundreds of women change their life and to lose weight and to learn to love themselves again. And so I've come full circle, and I'm doing it again. I'm doing it all online. And I have a program called it's waydownlifestyle.com. And I have a free web class that I do every Tuesday night. And you can learn all about my program there. So if you're interested, if you're a Christian woman, my audience in this field is helping Christian women. And I'm religiously respectful when I say that. So if you're a woman wanting to lose weight and you're my age, anywhere 50 and up, I'm helping hundreds of women right now in my program, and they're having huge success. So you can come to my web class. It's free Tuesday night. It's 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you're going to hear all about how to lose weight without being on a diet, because I say this as well. It's not your fault if you're overweight right now, because the media and the fad diets have failed us. You haven't failed. Diets have failed you.
So I got to jump in there and tell you too that I'm working on my girl-like figure. So I started in March with Ruth, and I've lost 25 pounds on this lifestyle. And diets don't work for me. I just do not like diets at all. I don't like being hungry. It just goes against my fabric. But this program is so awesome, and I can manage it, and I'm just losing weight. It's just crazy. Not crazy. It's great. I love it.
It's great.
Pretty soon.
You're changing your lifestyle. You're not dieting. You're changing your lifestyle. You're also changing your mindset, right? And oh my gosh, this lady, amazing. I just remembered now. I know I mentioned this on our last podcast, but I saw a picture of Ruth on her side, like, I don't know, doing something crazy on the wall, and I just couldn't believe it. So she's really fit. I know she knows what she's talking about. That's what I'm trying to tell you, that she knows what she's talking about. And how do you keep up, Robert? How do you keep up with this fireball?
Do you know, honestly, sometimes I just have to say, sweetheart, you need to go and walk, and I'm just going to sit in the chair here and let the world go by. And she understands that from me. She has lots of energy. She always has lots of energy. Her mom had lots of energy. It's a different energy than mine because I have lots of energy too. But she just has to use her energy in her way sometimes.
And Dela, you and I get that because aren't you the kickboxing queen?
Yeah, I'm not the queen, but I am a kickboxer. I love doing that. There's something about moving your body that helps you overall. So I totally get that. Ruth and Robert, you guys are living your passions right now.
Yes,
we are.
How is that? How is that important?
Well, I think I'm going to just talk a little bit about retirement, if that's okay. We can use that kind of thought process. Some people think that retirement is to go home and golf twice a week and look at TV and the news and eat well and go out and dine and go on vacation perpetually. And there may be a season when that's okay. But if you don't have a purpose every day, something to get up for, something to feel passionate about, even though some days I even think inside it's overwhelming, there's too much going on, I'm retired. But I quickly have to say change because
cancel.
You know, we are just so enjoying our lives right now. I don't even know where the days go. They just whip by. But I think that's a very, very good sign as well. And we both feel healthy. We both feel mentally alive and engaged. And it's wonderful. The alternative to just sit home and do nothing, I don't know. That just doesn't seem right to me. Our line is we're not retired, we're refired.
That's awesome. That's great. I love it. So what's one advice that you can give to someone who's not perhaps living their passion?
Well, I would say the best advice is to start with a gratitude journal. And so to start changing your mindset, to start seeing the cup half full rather than half empty. The thing that I do every morning when I put my feet on the floor, I say the words in my mind, sometimes out loud. I say, I love my life. And I really believe that getting that positivity into your mindset can totally change the trajectory of your life. And so what we do when we get up, yes, we love coffee. So when we get up and we start our day off every day with a glass of fresh squeezed lemon juice in water with a dash of cayenne pepper. This is good for your digestion. It's good for alkalining your body. It's water. Everyone needs more water. But then we sit down with our coffee.
Apple cider vinegar too.
I forgot the apple cider vinegar. Yep. A teaspoon of
water, lemon juice, cayenne pepper, and apple cider vinegar. Yum. I know Robert would love to drink that.
And it definitely wakes you up in the morning. And then we sit down with our coffee and we do our gratitude journals. That's our routine. And I think to further that, like getting into that positive mindset for the day, that's what helps us.
I always say when I get out of bed, I'm so happy and grateful now for this new day. I love my life. That's my first thing when I say that. And it mostly, almost exclusively works. It sets the tone for the day right away.
Yeah.
Oh, so positive. So positive. I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
You too.
I appreciate everything you're doing for the world, the example you're setting, and for everybody else. I really, really adore you guys. Thank you so much for being on here. Again, www.renewedmindonline.com/buy now. Code is FF100. Get yourself into this program so that you can benefit from all the knowledge you guys have amassed for the past.
Right. It's all in one place. You don't have to search all over. And you need to invest in yourself. I'm really big on that. I think I might have mentioned that once or twice in the program.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you. The best investment is the investment you make in yourself. That's
Exactly.
so true.
We so appreciate you, Dela. Thank you for taking this time with us.
Yes, thank
We're
you.
honored.
We are really honored and blessed. And we send you some energy. Here it comes.
All right. Woo! All the way from BC. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. I'll see you soon, okay, on another podcast somewhere, somehow.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. This has been Dela's Voice, hoping to spark your soul. Till next time.